Hey everybody. So I just watched the video that Robert Dilts and Stephen Gilligan made about getting into your creative space. And I just want to share with you guys how I apply this. Uh, I believe in an even more powerful way than they would give us. And some of the things I do, I think, add more power to it. And you've all heard me say the most powerful force I have ever encountered in my life is God, and NLP is number two. So I'm adding to the NLP things that they're showing us, things that I believe really do add the power of God to my life, to our lives. So, and I use this thing, and I'd forgotten about the coach thing, about the centered, open. I'm looking at my notes over here. So the centered, the open, the aware, the connect positively, and be hospitable to whatever comes your way. Now, when I say I'm hospitable to whatever comes my way, the mindset that I have is I'm accepting of whatever comes my way. If there's fear, if there's negativity, if there's crisis, I'm accepting of the fact that it's there. I don't approve or disapprove, so it's not quite even the word accepting. I acknowledge that it's there, and I'm okay with it being there. God created the devil. God created evil. God allowed Adam and Eve to fall, and assuming you're a human being like me, you commit sins every day. Um, so there's things that we know that are not right, that are wrong, that happen, that exist, that we do. So and Sherry started asking me some questions here. So Sherry's here too, and so as I'm just going to put this together just for a couple minutes of kind of how I apply this NLP stuff. So I very much do that centered thing where I drop out of my head and I drop into the core inner place of wisdom that's calm, that's clarity, that's compassion. When Jesus talks about our heart, that's where I'm going to. My head is extremely powerful. And when I drop out of my head and into my heart, as God calls it, our heart, it's even more powerful than your head is, than your brain is. It's more my heart is more powerful than my brain. Though most of the day, as I'm going through the day, I'm thinking about these adult mode things, these buying groceries and paying the bills and making more money and taking care of business. But that's on a very just kind of matter of fact level of survival. And most of that I can do with my head. I can basically survive with my brain. But it's my heart that is more powerful than my brain and allows me a deeper creativity because God lives in our heart, because that's the wisdom that I'm tapping into. Awareness of is like the flow of a river without judgment. We're not judging what is. Now, when I say that I'm not judging what is, because there's good and evil, I'm accepting of the fact that there's both good and evil. I am still judging. I am still saying, okay, I acknowledge that this is good and that this is bad. I acknowledge it. I see it. I know there's maybe nothing I can do about good and evil out there, but I acknowledge it and I see it. There is this little background judgment of, yeah, I acknowledge this is good and that's bad. But I'm still accepting of the fact that they're both there. Because inside me, there's also fears and joy. There's a little anxiety and there's love. So those both exist. And sometimes our anxiety and our fear is what helps us to get to that creative space where they're all together. So that's kind of my view of the not judging and judging and the accepting of what is, that I apply from that video we just watched. So, and I hope you guys all did that. Setting an intention for a creative space. I intend to move to a creative space. Not I need or I want. because want speaks of not having. Intention speaks of I intend to go there to that creative space. Settling in, settling down, coming back to my center. Who's the center of your life? Jesus Christ, God the Father, Holy Spirit. That is an outside resource that we're bringing in. And sure, he lives in our hearts also. So I relax, I breathe. You know, what's the first thing that God did when he created man? He breathed his spirit into him. There's something really powerful about noticing and acknowledging the breath that comes into us. I will do with you guys more of this, and we call it I need to, with everybody, do the exercise, the Circle of Excellence exercise, because the Circle of Excellence exercise is all about remembering a time when you felt a deep positive connection. Remembering a time, because you felt, there's some time when you felt a deep positive connection, a deep love, a deep creativity, a deep peace that you got from God. And I want everybody to remember a time that you've done that. You have definitely known times of deep creative love, deep creative emotion, and I want you to go there then and be all there. Wherever that was, with whomever that was, whenever that was, you've been there. There was some place and time and some surroundings, maybe with people, maybe with your pets, maybe with nature, maybe in church, maybe somewhere else. But there's been a where and a when and a with other things, people, places, and things that have been good and creative and wonderful for you. And you've been there. And when we remember that, we're activating all those brain cells and senses, not only in our brain, but in our body and in our sixth sense, in our connection to our intuition and our conscience that God has created and made good. We're making that connection. So remembering that time, being all there, I feel the river of God flowing through me. There's nothing stuck. There's not really a judgment because it's God flowing through me. There's curiosity. And I always make sure that I stay in that curious mode because that keeps me from being judgmental. So I'm curious as to what I see. I see good and I see bad. I see love and I see fear. And I'm curious about that fear. I'm curious about that love. I'm curious about the joy. I'm curious about the anxiety. If we can stay in a mode of curiosity, we're not going to have that judgmental thing that pushes God's ideas away from us. So, and I very consciously invite God's ideas. I'm very conscious about inviting God's will for my life. So, accepting whatever's there, positive and negative, disturbing or calming, they can all be there without them overtaking us, without them overwhelming us, without them taking possession of us. They can be there and we can see them and acknowledge them without them being overwhelming. That fear doesn't have to be overwhelming. That anxiety doesn't have to be overwhelming. And in fact, any of those emotions, the joy, the love, the peace, the calm, along with maybe that excitement, which is maybe somewhere in the middle towards anxiety, those are all things we can acknowledge, and we can be in a place where we observe them without being overwhelmed by them. And as we observe, we can connect to them in a positive way, even if they're a negative emotion. So including all of our fears and all of our doubts, what is that creative action, the creative intention? What can I do that might be helpful for others? And again, this is not answered in our head. This is answered in these deep places in our hearts, in the space that my God created inside of me to live in. It's really that beyond all these things that they said in the video you just watched, I really am looking for and listening for and feeling for, not just looking for and listening for, but feeling for God's will for my life. Now, when they added a movement, for me, being centered is this, being open is this, and my hands are all the way out to a comfortable space. Being aware and flowing through a river. What I'm doing when I'm doing this, have you ever laid in a river that's either going by you or coming towards you, and you move your hands like this, and as the river flows past your hand, or maybe you've been driving in a car and you've had your hand out the window and you've done this, it's just a very calming thing. And for me, that's me being centered, open, aware of this river, and I'm connecting to it by bringing it to me. I'm washing it towards me in this motion. I'm connecting to it, and I'm being hospitable to it. And that movement that I have is this, and it connects my body to flowing that Holy Spirit towards me, to having that river of God flowing towards me. Sherry has a question.
So when he talked about adding a movement to it, it's not, he was, okay, so what am I going to do today to help myself and others? It's not a different movement every day. It's you getting in that state.
Yes, it's about me getting in a state that, and everybody's going to have a little different state.
But it's not every day. It's a new thing that I'm going to do. I don't have to have a new movement for each action I'm going to take.
Correct.
It's just what's for me for this to get into this state. Okay. That
exactly.
was my confusion.
It's really about this is that thing that gets me into that state. I can go there. I feel centered. I feel open. I feel aware. I feel that connection, and I'm hospitable to it. And this is a motion that gets me there. Closing my eyes helps me get there also. Being fairly upright gets me also. When I'm meditating upstairs, I'm actually way more reclined. But just any time of the day when we're sitting in our chair, we can do this. So, does that help?
Yes, that was my question.
Did you have other questions? Any other thoughts, anybody?
Nope.
Because we're going to save this video forever and have people play it after they play that other thing. So I'm going to put the link down there somewhere. To the video that I'm commenting on. So anyways, that's how I apply it. I really do use that power of NLP to invite God's power. And sometimes that powerful is, wow, here's a powerful new idea that I never thought of before. And sometimes that power is, here's the simple, easy will of God that you're going to do today. And sometimes it's here's the calming power of God to calm you, like those days that Jesus said, whew, man, I'm tired. I got to go up in the wilderness and pray. There were days when Jesus said, yeah, I got to get away from everybody. I got to go pray. I have to go reconnect. And he'd go up on the mountain alone. So it could be that. It could be something in between, maybe a short, easy connection I'm making with Sherry today. It may also be some here's power to do more of the will of God as I've revealed it to you, and it could be here's a brand new big idea. So it could be any of those things, and God has the perfect plan for you. God knows what He's going to teach you, and if we're open to if we're centered, knowing God lives in our hearts, if we're open to the will of God and not our own selfish will, if we're aware of the Spirit of God flowing through us, if we connect to the Spirit of God flowing through us, and we're hospitable to God flowing through us, along with being hospitable to any fears or doubts or anxiety that we have, acknowledging them without them overwhelming us, sometimes that emotion gets us into that state where we're really aware of what God's saying to us, showing us, saying to us, or impressing upon us. So there's my thoughts. Any other thoughts? Questions?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Love you.
Thanks.
See you later. Bye.